It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Wednesday, August 3rd, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Wednesday? We've got current news from around the world, another amazing practical word study, and health is happiness with Julius Miumo from Australia. All right, everyone, how are you doing? It is Wednesday, and I'm just thankful for all of you joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. We are here at the middle of the week and looking forward to an even better leaders preaching tonight. And guess what, guys? There is no script from Sunstein, which means we really need to pray for our head leaders and leaders to deliver such a powerful message tonight that they will be led by the Holy Spirit so that when we hear the message, we'll be so inspired and the words will penetrate even deeper into our hearts. So everyone, let's start this day well with today's show. Now, just want to remind everyone to keep liking and commenting. Want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. But more than anything else, whether it's your questions, requests, testimonies, whatever it is, the biggest thing we want to do here is build the community, right? SoundCloud, leave your likes and comments too, but let's build the community. We'll make a platform for all of us English-speaking people from around the world that we can connect, talk, listen, and, understand certain things that are going on that we may think is only happening to us, but it's happening everywhere too. Especially when it came to the thoughts of the week yesterday, lots of different comments and calls when it comes to Korean culture and province culture and discerning between the two. And yeah, it is a sensitive subject too. Now, I know especially some other people I talked to in the past about this exact situation or this exact topic. Sometimes people think I'm attacking Koreans, or sometimes people think I'm attacking Providence or saying there's something wrong with it. And the honest answer is it's not about attacking. It's not about saying that, there's something wrong with Providence itself, right? It's more in-depth thinking and observation. And no one in the comments and no one within the last 2 days has written me anything like that. But, I have been confronted by some people who think that some people even say, what am I doing against Sunstein? I'm like, I don't really think this is against Sunstein. This is more of just trying to figure out what is the best way for Providence to grow in the Western countries. And a lot of times people will just say, do what Sunstein says. And the answer is, yeah, but Sunstein gives us leeway. And even Sunstein tells us no, do it in the way that fits your country. So it's hard to kind of sit there and say that, well, if you just did what Sunstein told you to do, then it would all work out. And the answer is, it is true in a generally speaking, it's true. And what Sunstein does, and we hear all the time through IMD. I'm not sure if any of you guys who's in leadership have gone through this, where you're not sure what to do. So you ask, the headquarters, and the headquarters say, ask IMD. And then IMD comes back and just tells you, do it according to your church's situation. How many times have you heard that, right? And when you really understand this, yeah, we're not children. We just got to do it the way that we think is going to keep the spirit of Providence with, of course, all the right and wrong that we know of Providence, but it's the how, the method, the style that's going to fit your church and your country, which becomes much more important because this is the only way that people are going to come into the church and feel comfortable and say, oh, wow, I really feel grace. I really feel this or that. And not thinking, whoa, that was weird. Oh, I wonder why they do it like this. And I'm going to tell you, there are some things that are going to be weird to the world because we are doing things in heaven style and the world is so far away from heaven. I understand that part. But there are some things that are not. And you're like, how do you know the difference between the two? And this is why there has to be deep thought, prayer, discussion in each of your churches and your countries so we can figure out what is the best thing for these two things, right? So I hope it's something that you guys definitely comment as much as you want, because I think this is a very, very big topic. And, I told you guys, I've been to 24 countries, and the English-speaking countries have all relatively gone through similar experiences when it came to cultural things that was more, it felt way more Asian than Providence. Okay. And that's why I do think putting your comments in here is going to be a very, very big thing. And if you haven't heard it yet, go ahead and listen to yesterday's last segment, Thoughts of the Week, on discerning between Providence culture and Korean culture or Asian culture, however you want to put it. Okay. Also, guys, remember, tomorrow is Thursday. It's Q&A Thursday tomorrow. So definitely give me your questions. We've already got 3 questions coming in right now, but I'd love to have like a base of questions that everyone asks that we'll be able to like go over so that people can answer their questions to their newcomers. People can answer their questions to their parents, or even trying to figure out what's the best how-to. And of course, I don't have all the answers, but I've been in Providence for about 24 years. Almost 24 years. In about a month and a half, it'll be 24 years. And, I want to impart my experience that I've gone through and the wisdom that I've gained through those 24 years, like you guys know, and the tons of mistakes that I've made just to get to this point right now. And I hope it can be something that a lot of you guys can learn from too. All right. Today, I'm super excited about Health is Happiness. Great new segment. A lot of people responding to this one too. That's from Julius over there in Australia. And I hope that, he's multi-talented. He's not only doing this, he's in the Rapture Collective, also doing his solo work. He's doing, and he's an engineer. Like, he is multi-talented, and I'm really thankful that he's in this history. So that will be today's last segment, Health is Happiness. And it's going to be the second part on having healthy sleep, right? So you don't feel sleepy during the day and such like that too, okay? Gosh, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am exhausted right now. I woke up really late. I basically died last night because, there was a holiday on Monday. And niece and nephew came over, 4 and 2 years old, and I am wiped out. Like, me, my brother, and my cousin took the 2 kids out to the park. We were running around and at the playground, and it's out in the sun. And when I got home, I showered, and I was not even knocked out. I was dead. I was literally dead on my bed. I don't remember a single thing. Eyes closed, boom, I was gone. Right? So I was just like, wow. This morning you wake up and you're like, oh, have you guys ever had that experience where you just wake up and you're like, wait, it's sunny out. What? What time? What? And then you just realize you slept through your alarm. And today I was so gone. I think I woke up at like 9. I remember the time. It was 9:21 a.m. And I was just like, oh, what time is it? I'm just like, what? And I leave my window open because, natural light helps you to wake up too, but it was already 2 hours up, and I woke up like at 9:21. I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad. But it was. I don't even know what to say, but I think it's partly because I don't know what it is, guys. I was gonna say it's my age, but I'm like, I can't really say age because like son seems like 78, and and he does way more than I do. I'm like, yeah, I can't really complain. I can't really. So yeah, it's just my fault. So I had a rough night. Well, it wasn't a rough night. It was a good night because just spending time with the family. Tons of food. Went out to take the nephew and niece to get ice cream, go play with them at the park. We spent like a good hour and a half, 2 hours out there. It was really, really fun. So I'm really happy because some of you, like you guys might be joining me right now, but I've been in Canada for 11 months now, and it's been exactly, I believe I left Malaysia on August 25th. Last year. So it's been almost a year. So it's going to be, I'm heading up to 1 year, just kind of being away, not doing a lot of missions and such like that. But yeah, it's really amazing how fast time has gone by. But interestingly, in September, I'll be heading back out again, most likely to Malaysia. Going to be working on some more YouTube things and more ideas for that too. So I'm super happy about that also. Okay. For the Espresso with Sky video, we just decided to push the video to this week. Editor was crazy busy, and of course, sometimes I send in my videos a little bit too late, so we're going to push it to this Thursday. Also, on top of that, I am going to make another video so that there'll always be one video ahead, so they can start working on it a little bit earlier too. So I'm going to work on that definitely, all right? So let's get into some member music from around the world, and I know that our members are so talented. I just talk about Julius too. He's doing his own solo rap, and then he's on the Rapture Collective, but we just got so many talented people from everywhere: New Zealand, Australia, America, Japan, Korea, everywhere. Right, and I would love to. I would love to see more. Like, is there? Oh, and Taiwan, because we have Renee Lai also. Are there any more countries that have these talented singers that are creating music and such? Because if you can leave a comment below, I'd love to discover more. Right? Discovering means that, not that I discovered them, but it's more of discovering and finding these talented people. They're everywhere. And I want them to make this good quality music so a lot of people, members can listen to it and receive a lot of grace from it, or just have music to listen to that's not so fallen and worldly either, right? So today we're going to start off with Justar over there in New Zealand. She's just doing an amazing job. More and more music just being pumped out. I'm going to play an old song of hers. It's called Cameron Fry Takes a Stand, and I hope you guys will really enjoy that one. And then we have Kuma-chung from Japan, also with an older song, Open My Eyes. And that's that song he made when they moved into their brand new church that they bought. And last but not least, we have Mariah Henry over there from America, and that song is going to be Lost Ones.
Take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I'm ready to face you. I'm ready to. I'm ready to. I'm ready.
Open the eyes, open the door, open my heart, 見心探して Open the eyes, open the door, open my heart, 未来照らす my way 揺れないで go 揺れないで go どんなかな迫害が来ても動じない強い信仰を持って立ち向かおうファミリーで go ファミリーで go 全ての人を受け入れられる家族のような温かさを持ってゆこう主の御心ファーストでゆこういつも主の心情と共に主のこと 見事実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこう全ての個性才能生かし挑戦しよう主役になろう伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining 伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining
オープンでこうオープンでこう地域や社会の目線に立ち発展に積極的に貢献しよう近づいてこう近づいてこう全ての世代と距離を近く親しく接したならは僕をなそう縛られてる心を捨ててこう新しい取り組みをしよう主の言葉で心を燃やして動き出そうどんどんチャレンジしよう
家族のような温かさで愛に満ちた教会しよう CGM オープンの先駆者として強みを生かし大胆になろう伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining 伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining 主の御言葉に出会い全て与えられた何もない私だったけど育ててくれたその愛をいつまでも忘れずにいようもらったもの全て捧げ御心が実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこう全ての個性才能生かし挑戦しよう主役になろう Open the eyes Open the door Open my heart 見心探して Open the eyes Open the door Open my heart 未来照らす my way
Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. We stay looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. 10 years of struggle, 10 years of pain, but I'll finally get to see you no more. Just calling your name, and the ones who wonder who, just open up your eyes. He's waiting for you too. He's not a man in disguise. And the hardest cross to bear, but your heart's not what I wear. To think this effort and this love could overcome the dirty stairs, and it's all because of you. Yeah, it's all because of you. Said it's all because of you. Yeah, I need you. Looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yes, you right now. Yes, you right now that I need. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yes, you right now. Yes, you right now that I need.
And that was Lost Ones from Mariah Henry in America. Before that, Open My Eyes from Kumachang from Japan, and Cameron Fry Takes a Stand. That is Ju-Star from New Zealand as the featured artist of the day. All right, guys, let's get into some news going on around the world. And I really, really, truly believe that this is a huge responsibility that all of us as the brides of this history have, and just taking care of this world through prayer more than anything else. And if you look at the way like just Sunseem lives his life, he's in one spot right now. And this has been like this for several years. He's just in Wonmyeongdong the entire time, but he's taking care of the world, whether it's through letters or emails or calling people. But the biggest thing that he does more than anything else is prayer. And he's praying for all of us, praying for what's happening in the world, getting the reports, seeing the world news. And I think this is part of our responsibility too. Now, of course, our situation is a bit different because it's not our number one responsibility, but it's something that as we go through our life, we should be looking at this news, seeing what God is doing, seeing and looking at the things we need to report and pray to God about, and what are the things we need to comfort God's heart in too, okay? So let's start off first with the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and Russia is now accusing the U.S. of a direct role in the Ukraine war. So Russia has accused the U.S. of direct involvement in the war in Ukraine for the first time. A spokesman from Moscow, the defense ministry, alleged the U.S. was approving targets for American-made HIMARS artillery used by Kyiv's forces. And there was a general that intercepted calls between Ukrainian officials and the U.S., and it revealed the link. So there was no immediate comment on the allegation from U.S. officials, and Russia previously accused Washington of fighting a proxy war in Ukraine. Now, there's a lieutenant general named General Konashenkov, and he said that it is the Biden administration that is directly responsible for all rocket attacks approved by Kyiv on residential areas and civilian infrastructure facilities in settlements of Donbass and other regions that caused mass deaths of civilians. HIMARS is a multiple rocket system which can launch precision-guided missiles at targets as far as 70 kilometers away, far further than the artillery that Ukraine previously had. Now, they are also believed to be more accurate than their Russian equivalents. In April, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said U.S. President Joe Biden's decision to supply Ukraine with billions of dollars worth of arms meant NATO, in essence, is engaged in a war with Russia through a proxy and is arming that proxy. War means war. Right? So throughout the conflict in Ukraine, Russia has been accused of numerous war crimes and crimes against humanity. And last week, Ukraine accused Moscow of bombing a prison in separatist-held Donetsk to cover up allegations of torture. And the BBC has documented allegations of torture and beatings of Ukrainian prisoners by both the Russian military and security services. In other news, nuclear annihilation, just one miscalculation away, and this comes from the UN chief. So the world is one misstep from devastating nuclear war and in peril not seen since the Cold War, the UN Secretary General has warned. And his name is Antonio Guterres, and he says, we have been extraordinarily lucky so far. So amid rising global tensions, humanity is just one misunderstanding and one miscalculation away from nuclear annihilation. His remarks came at the opening of a conference for countries signed up to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Now, this 1968 treaty was introduced after the Cuban Missile Crisis, an event often portrayed as the closest the world ever came to nuclear war. The treaty was designed to stop the spread of nuclear weapons to more countries and to pursue the ultimate goal of complete nuclear disarmament. Almost every nation on Earth is signed up to the NPT, including the 5 biggest nuclear powers, but among the handful of states never to sign are 4 known or suspected to have nuclear weapons, which is India, Israel, North Korea, and Pakistan. Secretary General Guterres said the luck the world had enjoyed so far in avoiding a nuclear catastrophe may not last, and urged the world to renew a push towards eliminating all such weapons. And, he was quoted as saying, luck is not a strategy, nor is it a shield from geopolitical tensions boiling over into nuclear conflict. And he warned that those international tensions were reaching new highs, pointing specifically to the invasion of Ukraine, tensions on the Korean Peninsula, and in the Middle East as examples. Today, there's about 13,000 nuclear weapons, and they are thought to remain in service in the arsenals of the 9 nuclear-armed states, far lower than the estimated 60,000 stockpiled during the peak of the mid-1980s. But still, 13,000, I believe, is still able to destroy the entire world. So that's something that we really have to think about and pray about, too, that are we really just one misstep away? And it's very, very possible, especially as the U.S. is jumping in much more deeply, arming the Ukraine army. And here's Russia. Russia and the U.S. hold the most nuclear weapons in the world, right? I think both of them combined, they have 70% of the world's nuclear bombs just between the two of them. So that's kind of what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine. Now, let's go to another dangerous situation as Nancy Pelosi of the U.S., right? She is one of the most senior U.S. politicians. She is second in line to the presidency. So if Joe Biden dies and the vice president takes over, and then the vice president dies, then she would take over, right? And her trip is now been labeled as extremely dangerous by Beijing because she is visiting Taiwan. So this is huge news. China has branded a landmark visit to Taiwan by U.S. Speaker Nancy Pelosi as extremely dangerous, accused Ms. Pelosi, the most senior U.S. Politician in 25 years, to visit the island China claims as its own, of playing with fire. And Beijing warned in a statement, those who play with fire will perish by it. Pelosi said her visit honors America's unwavering commitment to supporting Taiwan's vibrant democracy and did not contradict U.S. policy. As her plane touched down, Chinese state media reported that its military jets were crossing the Taiwan Strait, but Taiwan has denied any such action happened. China, which sees Taiwan as a breakaway province which will one day reunite with it, has previously warned that its armed forces will not stand idly by. In her statement, Pelosi said America's solidarity with the 23 million people of Taiwan is more important today than ever as the world faces a choice between autocracy and democracy. In an article published in the Washington Post newspaper at the same time, Pelosi also wrote that Taiwan's robust democracy is under threat, and in the face of the Chinese Communist Party's accelerating aggression, our congressional delegation's visit should be seen as an unequivocal statement that America stands with Taiwan, our democratic partner, as it defends itself and its freedom. China has reacted furiously, vowing to conduct targeted military exercises in response, and it also announced that the People's Liberation Army will conduct a series of live-fire military drills in the air and at sea around Taiwan later this week, warning ships and aircraft not to enter the affected areas. It follows days of escalating tensions ahead of the visit, in which Chinese warplanes had already ventured out as far as the median line, the unofficial dividing line separating China and Taiwan in the waters between them. China exerts international pressure on other nations to accept its one China policy, that there is only one Chinese nation based in Beijing. Only 15 nations in the world have formal diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Long-standing U.S. policy has been to recognize the Beijing government, but also maintain robust unofficial relations with Taiwan that includes selling weapons for Taiwan to defend itself. As Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Pelosi is second in line for the U.S. presidency after the vice president, yet she is also a long-standing critic of Beijing. And as a congresswoman in 1991, Pelosi, well, this is 2 years after the Chinese government cracked down hard on protesters in Tiananmen Square, she visited the site of the demonstrations and unfurled a banner in memory of those who died, sparking an angry response from the government there. Pelosi is expected to stay overnight, Taiwanese media have reported, and meet members of the Legislative Yuan on Wednesday. And honestly, guys, I really think that this is probably a result of all the prayers that Sun Seem gave and all the Taiwanese members are doing about what to do with this problem with China. And I think this is one of their answers. You have the most powerful nation in the world and the third most powerful person in that nation coming to visit Taiwan, even after being warned by China that it would be very and extremely dangerous. So I honestly look at this as good news, even though it could lead to something like war. So think about this, guys. We have Ukraine, Russia, and it is possible we can see all of a sudden the US, Taiwan, and China get into a war too. So it needs prayer, because it's kind of what the UN said. Like what I just read before that is we're one misstep, one miscalculation away from nuclear war. And this is something we really need to pray for. And as we kind of see how when I think about this, we kind of see how dangerous the world is getting right now, how close we are to these dangerous like wars, like all-out wars happening. And this kind of like this physical result is showing us what is happening in the spiritual world also, that we are very close to something dangerous. So I hope it kind of reminds us that this is a time for us to really, really pray, right? Last but not least, here's a U.S. once again. There's shock in Kabul as U.S. kills Al-Qaeda leader. The first signs of an operation that was months in the making erupted when an attack rocked the center of Kabul in the early hours of Sunday morning. We heard 2 thunderous blasts on our streets nearby. This is what some of the witnesses were saying. Speculation swirled around who and what had hit this empty house in Shirpur. It is a neighborhood which became notorious over the past 2 decades for its garish, multi-story villas, mocked by Kabul residents as a stronghold of corrupt warlords and officials, a gaudy symbol of the spoils of an ugly war. Kabul's call it Churpur, the town of thieves. The Taliban took over some of the empty villas close to some high-walled Western embassies, which also slammed shut when the Taliban took charge. Now, with every day, new pieces of this puzzle surfaced of a possible strike on an Islamic State target, the use of a U.S. drone, which raised even more questions, the involvement of U.S. forces on the ground. The mystery ended early on Tuesday morning as Kabul woke to the news that the U.S. had killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in a drone strike, and they tried to approach the area on a main road leading into the street, threading past Spinny's luxury supermarket and the Afghan Gazanfar Bank. So that's big news. The next leader of Al-Qaeda has been assassinated or killed by a U.S. drone. So we're looking to see the U.S. putting their hands in multiple areas. They're already in the Ukraine war. They're going to be going against Taiwan, and then now they're going to go to, like, this is kind of crazy that now the U.S. has Afghanistan possible, Taiwan and China possible, and Russia, which is like, this is really crazy. And you know that the U.S. doesn't have enough troops to support 3 different wars at the same time. So this is something that needs a lot of prayer more than anything else. All right. So there it is. That's the top 3 news around the world. Hope it kind of opens our eyes up to what is happening and how serious the situation is getting. But also it opens up our eyes to how serious the spiritual situation is too. Okay. Let's get into some sporting news around the world. Well, not around the world, mainly in the U.S., where the big sports leagues are. We're going to start off with Major League Baseball. Finally, star outfielder Juan Soto has been traded to the San Diego Padres in a huge blockbuster trade. Both Juan Soto and Josh Bell from Washington have been traded over to the San Diego Padres, and they will be receiving a left-handed pitcher, Mackenzie Gore, which is their number 1 prospect, Robert Hassel, an outfielder, which is their number 2 prospect. They have another pitcher, Yarlin Susana, which is their number 10 prospect, another player, James Wood, and shortstop CJ Abrams. This is a blockbuster trade. Soto, 2021 National League MVP runner-up. This is one of the biggest trades, and he's probably going to be getting at least $500 million in his next contract. So we'll see what happens there. Over there in the NFL, those of you guys don't know, there's a quarterback named Deshaun Watson, very, very young, but he has like 24 civil suits against him for sexual misconduct. 24 women have confronted him, but it's pretty crazy. Because there's a lot of different things that we know and don't know. But number 1 is he went to 2 grand jury trials to see if he was if this was a criminal act, and both juries found him innocent. So it's not a criminal. What he did was not criminal, right? So it was bad. It is wrong, but it wasn't criminal. So there's the first thing. But then you have these civil lawsuits coming out, and I believe he's settled all of them except one. And now the NFL is trying to look at how many games he's going to be suspended. This has been happening for over a year. And finally, it has come out, a 6-game suspension for Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. And of course, a lot of people saying that is too short, but it's predictably triggered an intense reaction. And of course, it's fair and understandable because the allegations of sexual misconduct against Watson are disturbing and deal with the issue of how the NFL polices players when it comes to behavior towards women. The history of the league includes enough mishandling of that to justify cynicism, and a lot of the reaction on Monday seemed to root itself in that cynicism. Many expected to be disappointed by the outcome, and to a large extent, they were. Now, the thing that was different about this one is the NFL was not the one that handled the case. They found an arbitrator, right? An ex-judge, federal judge that came in to look at all the situation, and and basically this person handed down the result, right? So, and it's true, arbitration, they're not designed to make everyone happy, and the decisions are supposed to be based on the evidence presented and precedent in place. And there's like a 16-page report from retired federal judge Sue Robinson, and it's clear she tried to maintain that balance. It's quite interesting. There's another person who did gambling, and he gambled on not his own team but other teams, and he got an entire year. He was suspended for. So it is quite interesting to see that there's only 6 games. A lot of people are expecting anywhere from 10 games up to an entire season, but it's not happening. So is there going to be appeal? Basically, the NFL has until Wednesday to appeal the decision from Sue Robinson. All right, so that's quite interesting. And last but not least, let's go to golf and the LIV Tour. Of course, this is the big thing that a lot of people are talking about. But news came out that Tiger Woods was offered $800 million to join the LIV Golf Tour. And this comes from Greg Norman. And Woods, who's 46 years old right now, has been among the most outspoken supporters of the PGA Tour during its ongoing battle with LIV Golf for the best players in the world. And at last month's Open Championship in St. Andrews, Woods said he supported the R&A's decision not to invite Norman, a 2-time winner of the event, to the 150th celebration of the Open. And, Tiger Woods rejecting $800 million just to go into it. Honestly, he's actually he's a billionaire already. They say he's made about $1.7 billion in his career. And if you guys think about this, how crazy it is, only $121 million comes from golf matches. The rest is all sponsorships and investments that he's done. And he's now at $1.7 billion in his career. Right, so he is a billionaire. So but it's crazy because if $800 million is half of what he's made his entire career in just one shot. So when I looked at that, I was like, wow. But you're someone already a billionaire. Do you really need that much money? And the answer is probably no. Right, so that's quite interesting how much the LIV Tour is willing to spend on these great players coming from around the world, right? Either way, there it is, guys. That is the top 3 news in sports and the world. Hope you guys really enjoyed that and opened your eyes to what is happening, which means, guys, this is the time that we've all been waiting for. It is the golden time. And yes, it is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope you guys are really enjoying the podcast so much so far, but it's time to give glory. And I know that the Holy Trinity is looking forward to this too, so I hope that all of us with all of our hearts can pour out our praises to the Holy Trinity. So what are we going to sing today? We're going to start off with Let's Run Before the Rain Pours, and then Light of Hope, and then we'll end things off with The Place Where the Lord Dwells. So, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
The Spirit, Holy Spirit, led the way. She gave me hints and signs here and there, helping me take action. And then I realized moving at us run before the rain starts to pour. You must get it done. It's the opportunity, she said to me. The moment the Spirit inspired me, she made me realize and looking good. She once again guided my every step. I have no doubts, nothing to verify. I'm absolutely certain. Mighty God, Holy Spirit, we are now hurrying on our way, happily and so full of joy. The Holy Spirit is right next to us, serving her diligently. We go on our way. 안녕, I am going, I am leaving, turning to the new history, to God's history of providence. There I will go. Providence is the ideal world, the world of freedom and truth, on the green pastures where streams of water overflow. I will live with the Lord, only loving Him, right here in this place, only for His will. Light of hope shine in Providence, still flowers bloom, still the fruits in Providence thrive, because we have the word of the Lord. Oh, the light of hope shines bright.
God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow, heaven on earth history. Rough windstorms may come and go, eternal hope history. I shall follow only the Lord, I shall love Him eternally.
Shall I live resenting others, resenting my own brothers? All of you who follow the Lord, let us never change. With never changing hearts, let us love and run to the Lord. It is only His word that becomes a light of hope. Stormy waves of trials seem to come endlessly. We may run
history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord, I shall love him eternally. God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord, I shall love him eternally. God's providence history, the last one of salvation, where flowers bloom and fruits grow. Heaven on earth history, rough windstorms may come and go. Eternal hope history, I shall follow only the Lord, I shall love him eternally.
So full of love, I call upon your name, my Lord. Right now, I just want to be right next to you. With a heart that is so full of praise, I have come to finally realize, my Lord, you're surely in this place. Always until the end, promise that you'd be with us until the end of time. Oh my Lord, you never have forgotten us. You are by our side and bless us endlessly. Lord, you are always there. Please accept just want to live with you. When we think of the way you're always here running with us, we're so grateful, Lord, and we just can't forget. We're in this church of peace and love abounding. I'm rejoicing in this heaven on the earth. With my heart set firmly on that world of gold, I will keep my faith and glorify your name. Lord, you are always there. Please accept our praise. I am so in love, I just want to live with you. When I think of the way you're always here running with us, I'm so grateful, Lord, and I just can't forget. together make this history of life.
And there you have it. That is the place where the Lord dwells. Before that, Light of Hope. And of course, Let's Run Before the Rain Pours. And I hope not only you, but the Holy Trinity received all the praise and worship over here from the Morning Star Drive. All right, so now that our hearts are prepared, let's get ourselves into today's word study. And, it's been like this for the last almost a month. Sunseam hasn't been giving the Proverbs every single morning, but I think it's a great exercise and drill for a lot of the leaders to start to extract and take out the important parts of the word and be able to explain them really well too. So today we're going to go into a practical word study like we did last week and the week before that, and how do we put the words of God into action. Now, this week's message is a little bit more, there's a lot of practical things that come out of the message, but on top of it, the answer is just the same, and it's almost the cliche answer is pray. Like, that is the cliche answer we're getting. Like, if there's any problems, what's the problem? You got to pray. That's all there is. You've got to pray. That is everything right now, more than anything else. And I hope it's something that we can look at and say, oh, this is what's going on right now. Okay. So I think the most important thing that comes from this week's message, is not about what happens if you don't pray, what happens if you pray. The key seems to be is you need to know the direction and flow of God's history. Right? We need to realize what the problem really is. We have to resolve the fundamental problem with God and the Holy Spirit. And I think this becomes like the bigger issue, and all the other things about how to pray and what to do with it becomes the answer to this big issue. Because I really, I was hit by that point is you can't pray just because someone tells you to, right? You can't. You can't, and it's something like you cannot stop praying just because someone tells you to either, right? It's got nothing to do with anyone on the outside. It has to do with you, right? Right now, what is the title of this week's message? That very, very first sentence, and that is the thing, is that it is time to know. It is time to know, then truly pray and act. So we see two parts to this. You need to know what's going on, and then you truly pray and act. But it's interesting because it's totally cyclical, because in order for you to know the time it is right now without knowing every single detail, we got to kind of look at all the signs and things that are going on. Like we talked about the world news already. The world is just going deeper and deeper into chaos, right? It's true. It's going deeper and deeper into chaos. It's crazy right now. Right? We started with the pandemic, we have the natural disasters, then we have the Russia-Ukraine war and food shortages. Well, even before that, we had Hong Kong being taken over by China. That was crazy. Nothing happened. We have the coup in Myanmar, right? We have the things happening in Africa. Things are happening. Then on top of it, we have Russia-Ukraine war, food shortages, and then on top of it now, we see this huge threat where it's the U.S. and China. They're kind of both, they're going against each other because of Taiwan. And then you have, the U.S. just killed the Al-Qaeda leader in Afghanistan. What is going on? Monkeypox is coming around the corner, even though it's not really that as deadly as people think. But all these things are going on at the same time. And it kind of opens our eyes to the spiritual situation that's happening too, right? And if we learn from the Elijah and the Ravensfood lecture, one of the key points there is you can see the spiritual situation through what happens physically, right? That because the people were worshiping idols, right? They were rampantly worshiping idols, and they were disregarding God, then there was a drought. And that is the result of a spiritual thing that happened. When you look at what's happening right now spiritually, and all the things like the investigations and such on Sunseam because of the slanders or accusing of this and that, it's kind of the same situation. We don't know what's going on, right? No one really knows except for the lawyers or whoever's working on it. No one else knows exactly what is going on, but the signs are there. The signs are there. And you're like, well, what kind of signs? Well, besides the world news, like things happen, no, there's bigger signs. Number one is this. Think about, we haven't had Sunseam's Proverbs in a month. Something's going on. We got to pray for this. There's something going on. There's a sign right there. Today's even a bigger sign. What's the big sign for today? The big sign for today is Head leaders don't get a script for the Wednesday message. They have to make their own script for the Wednesday. We're like, whoa, what is going on, right? Something is happening where something is tied up, where he's either too busy or it's too important right now, or he can't write things down. He can't send things out. What about the other sign? Last week's message, people are doing things in a burdensome way that is not helping Sunseam right now the way the world is looking at it. The more and more we see, like Sunseam even said in this week's message, haven't you noticed the mood has changed in the message? Then realize what time it is right now. You got to realize what time it is. Know the direction. Know the flow of God's history. What is happening? What is really happening? What's the real problem? What is it? And when you look at this week's message, Sunseam's saying, look, there's a bunch of things happening, but you got to know that if you stop praying right now, you're going to fall into temptation, which means you're going to get tested. You're going to be wondering to yourself, why are all these things happening? I thought everything was finished. I thought we're raptured. How come it's still bad like this? And if you don't pray, the message was telling us you're going to fail to check yourself and you're going to start to focus on the negative things. You're going to fail to see the things you need to see, like all the signs that are going on, how bad the situation is and how much we need to pray. Then on top of it, we're not going to find the answers because we're not praying. So what is it? How are we going to figure this out? And the answer is we got to pray. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest how you're praying right now. Because if you pray, the Holy Spirit's going to let us know through thoughts and inspirations and realizations what's happening. Going to give us direction, telling us the method, right? And depending on how much we pray, our faith is going to change, level of salvation, the way the Holy Spirit works with us. But the most important one is what is achieved changes depending on your prayer. And if we're thinking only about ourselves, like what can I achieve through prayer? I need a new job. I need to make more money. We have to think at the very large level first is how are we going to fix the situation for Sunseam right now? And how we pray is going to make the change bigger, better, so much more ideal. And it's all dependent on our prayer. One of the things we don't want to do is, it's like what I just said before, what was in the message is if you don't pray, you will fail to see what you need to see. So which means look at your life right now and what are you failing to see? Are you failing to see what Sunseam is going through? Are you failing to see the real situation right now? What's happening in Providence? Are you failing to see we're failing to see something, but we're only seeing problems. I'm only seeing what I want in my life. I need a new car. I need this. I need a new job. I got to make more money. Oh, what's happening with my parents? Are you seeing those things or are you really able to see what you need to see right now? We need to know the direction. We need to know a flow of God's history. Even if someone asks me about what's the situation right now, I don't even know, but from the signs, you can see what is happening. And this is why we need to pray. And people are going to church to pray again, right? But then Sunseam says that if you're unable to pray with people, pray alone, right? Pray alone. So you're going, wait, then should I go to church? And the answer is, yeah, go to church, but you can still pray alone at church. There's many places for you to pray. You can, put yourself into another room or go into the corner and put, earplugs in or something else like that. And you got to go pray. And for me, I look at myself too. I was like, man, I really need to pray with people because praying, I'm having a hard time praying alone, but I got to pray with people. It's much better for me right now at this situation. And we're getting all the ideal ways. What is the importance? How are we going to? We have all the practical things we need right now through this message. But we are not going to pray if we don't understand why we need to pray, if we don't know the direction of God's history. We have to understand this in such a different way that as history repeats itself, just because Jesus saved all mankind, right, through the cross, does that mean that all Christians were good from that point on? No, it took another 300 years before Christianity became the state religion of Rome, and that's massive persecution. People dying for this history. If people think that because we're raptured and everything is done, there's a complete testament in history, and everything should be good from this point on, they have no idea, a grasp of reality. There's no, how would you, we're going to all of a sudden become we're going to become the state religion of Korea because history. No, it takes time. It takes effort. It takes, we're not living in a providence world. We're living in the world where Satan rules, and he's going to do even more. which means right now, guys, if Satan is attacking this much, right, attacking Sunsteam, all the things happening in the world, you know something big's around the corner. Something's happening in 2023. I don't know what it is. I don't. Something's going to happen. And we need to know the direction. What is God's history flowing towards? But Satan's not going to attack even more when something bad is going to happen. It's when something great and powerful and amazing is going to happen. And this is why we need to realize what the problem really is. And we're not going to realize it until we sit down and pray. And what I'm trying to do now is, I got to get it into all of our heads, including myself, is how big is the situation right now? What is the direction right now? Why aren't we praying as we should? Because like the message said, even if someone tells you to pray, you're not going to pray just because someone tells you to. It doesn't work that way when it comes to prayer. It's something that you really like, oh, I got to pray. I really got to pray. We have to resolve this problem that we have between us and God. We have to resolve these problems with God and the Holy Spirit. And it can't be one of those things of, God, let's make a deal. If you give me this job, then I'll pray. No, because what is that? It doesn't make any sense to me that you're going to bargain God into something. God, do this for me and then I'll pray. It makes no sense to me, because that's like almost like being in a marriage and then you're going to bargain for certain things in a marriage. That makes no sense. That's something you do with children. When it comes to those that love each other, everyone goes all in, regardless of the situation, circumstance. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter how good it is. Right? In a real relationship of love, that communication never breaks, and it should happen because you love each other so much that you can't stop the communication. I'm telling you right now, when you can tell when people don't pray. You can tell it by the words that they say. You can tell it by the actions that they take and the focus of the things that they look at. You can totally tell when people are not in their right mind. And prayer is the big answer. And we have to be those that know the direction, follow God's flow of history, realize what the problem really is. And when it all comes down to it, when it comes to each and every one of us that are listening to this podcast right now and thinking about it, the problem is you. It's me. Because it's not the prayer. The prayer is something we just got to do. But the only reason we're not doing it, the only reason why Sunsteam's not getting enough prayer, and the reason why the situation is not getting any better is because the individuals are not praying. And that's something you really, really need to think about. What aren't we doing? It's prayer. That's the big thing that we haven't done. And Sunsteam's saying, you need to realize. You need to know what's going on. Know the direction of this history. What is the flow of God's history? Realize what the problem is, but it cannot be done just by me telling you, why aren't you praying? And I'm telling you right now, look at the signs. It's all there. I just went through it already, right? All the things happening in the world. Like looking at, we're not getting the Proverbs. We didn't get the Wednesday. Like, what is going on? And it's not so much of a complaint of, hey man, what the heck is going on? It's more of, something's going on and I better be praying for this. You know, I'm not someone who's against secrets. Some things need to be kept secret until a certain time, or else it can ruin something. It can ruin a court case. It can ruin something, that's why sometimes secrets are needed in the beginning, and that's fine. I have no problems with that. The issue that we have to look towards is not so much of, I need to know everything that's going on. It's more towards, do I realize what's happening at the moment? And do I know like even the general flow of it? Because that would compel me to pray and like, God, my prayers would be so sincere of, God, I don't know what's going on, but it's serious. Because we know that the spiritual problem affects the physical problem. And look at the world right now. God, we haven't gotten any Proverbs in a month. God, we haven't gotten a Wednesday message today. Man, soon are we not going to have a Sunday message? What is going on? And then we pray and say, God, help. Help the situation, help Sunsteam, help Providence, help the lawyers, help the situation. We need to make sure that our prayers go out to God. And this is when there's going to be change. This is not about telling you to pray. This is for us to compel and say, whoa, I really need to pray. What is going on? And I hope it's something that we will realize more and more when it comes to what is happening around the world, right? And what is happening in this history, what's happening with the slanderers. We haven't heard from them since March, which means what? Like, it means we haven't heard any, we can't assume it's all bad news, but we can't even assume it's good news, because if it was good news, that news would come out too. So it's still in process. It's still in process. So let's be the ones that pray. Pray the proper prayers at this time, realizing what is the direction. Direction means where are we going? However, it doesn't mean you know all the details, but at least we know the direction. All right? I hope this really helps you guys out when it comes to why we should be praying and the inspiration in our hearts to help us to pray even more. If you've got any comments, put a comment below. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about the situation too. Okay? All right, so that is the end of the word study for today. I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that. And I have a song of choice for today for this English Wednesday, and it's an old song from the 80s, but it's a great song just to help us to understand how we can deal with this and knowing the situation better. It's a song from Bobby Brown, okay? And he's self-proclaimed king of pop, but great song, went to #1. It's called Every Little Step. And it's basically kind of a song where you think about God is going to be with us every little step we take, right? It's not going to be only at the milestones. God is going to be with us every step. And we need to be the ones that when it comes to our prayer, we got to do it step by step and know that God will be with us every single time, okay? So everyone, this is Bobby Brown with Every Little Step.
Listening for the telephone, but when it gets your call,
And there it is. That is Bobby Brown. That's a song from the 80s. Really catchy song. Every Little Step. I think this album that Bobby Brown put out, I think he had like 4 or 5 number ones come out of this one album. But really, really good song. Reminds me of my elementary school days and high school days. So it's quite interesting. Well, not high school, be middle school for me, for a lot of you out there. But I hope you guys really enjoyed that song, Every Little Step. All right. So let's get into the final segment for today. And of course, we're all looking forward to this. It's the 3rd episode of Health is Happiness with Julius Miyumo from Australia.
Hi everyone, Julius here, and welcome to the Health is Happiness segment of the show, where we discuss the ways we can optimize health for a happy life, both physically and spiritually. This episode is number 2, and it's the second part of the topic of improving sleep quality. So last episode, we kicked off this mini-series on how to get better sleep, and we started looking at the reasons why we get sleepy. So now that we really understand that, we can do what we need to do to make improvements. We went into detail about the 2 primary factors influencing our sleep throughout the day. On one corner, we have adenosine, and on the other, we have the circadian rhythm. So today's episode is going to be the fun part. We are going to learn the tools to help us deal with the problem. Now, much of the knowledge I'll be sharing with you today, I learned from Dr. Huberman's podcast on health. So go check him out if you want to learn more. So let's get started. First, let's learn about how to master our circadian rhythm. Now, if you remember from the last episode, our circadian rhythm is our internal body clock. This clock decides the right time to turn on and turn off certain chemicals in our body called hormones, which influence our levels of sleepiness and alertness throughout the day. Not only this, but it also influences our energy levels when we get hungry and much more other things. Basically, the circadian rhythm is super important. We really need to get this right in order to get the best quality sleep. Now, everyone at some point, I'm assuming, has experienced jet lag. That feeling is pretty much the result of your circadian rhythm being disrupted. Now, there are many things that we do in this modern age that cause similar disruptions to our circadian rhythm. What we're going to do is learn how to control our circadian rhythm by controlling the timing of light exposure, exercise, and food. Let's begin with light. When we wake up after a night of sleep, our circadian rhythm gives the signal to release cortisol, which makes us alert. Now, most people who know about cortisol know it as the stress hormone, which makes it seem like it's always bad, but that's not the case. Cortisol is actually a very useful natural hormone. The issue is when we have too much in our system for long periods of time, which is the case when we have chronic stress. When we wake up, there's a small release of cortisol and adrenaline, which slowly declines as we go throughout our day. These hormones make our brain and body alert and full of energy, ready to go. And this is exactly what we want early in the morning. Once you get that wakefulness signal from cortisol, a timer is set in the body for a particular hormone to be released later in the day. This hormone is known as melatonin, aka the sleepy signal. So getting this healthy pulse of cortisol early in the day is really important in order to have the alert and sleepy signals released at the right time. Now, where does light exposure come into this? Our circadian rhythm is actually governed primarily by the quality and amount of light that enters our eyes during certain times of the day. Setting this clock correctly is really important, as I mentioned, because if we get these hormones, cortisol and melatonin, released at the wrong time, then we'll be sleepy when we want to be awake and alert when we want to be sleepy. The most ideal light exposure to set our circadian rhythm correctly is to get sunlight outside in the morning as early as possible. If possible, it's great to also get sunlight exposure in the evening. This signals to our brain the right time to release the appropriate hormones. If you can't get enough sunlight exposure in the morning, then using bright artificial lights is an option, but not as ideal. Now, just to be clear, I don't mean staring at the lights until your eyes hurt. Just getting normal exposure is enough. We can use this at pre-dawn as well, since we're starting our day before the sun rises. But still try to get your early morning sunlight. So one way I use light to help me wake up is having a light switch close to my bed so I can turn it on when my alarm goes off. This makes it harder to go back to sleep and gradually wakes me up. Light suppresses the sleepy signal melatonin. Darkness allows melatonin to be released. Another trick is just to look at your phone screen for a while, as long as you can avoid actually using it in the morning. Now let's talk about nighttime. What should we do at night? Well, pretty much the opposite. From 8 p.m. at best and 11 p.m. at worst, we want to minimize exposure to bright light, particularly strong sources of blue light. So what are some practical ways we can do this? I'm sure most people will be using their electronic devices past 8 p.m. One thing that's very helpful is getting a very high quality monitor that is designed to take care of your eyes. Personally, I use BenQ and I set it on reading mode, which is very gentle on the eyes. Additionally, you can install software called Flux that automatically adjusts the type of light being emitted from your computer screen based on the time of day. I also think most phones come with similar pre-installed software to decrease the blue light from your screen in the evening. It's also helpful to use light bulbs throughout your house, especially in your bedroom, that emit a warmer, softer light instead of the intense fluorescent lights you would find in an office. Nevertheless, when it comes to smartphones, there are more reasons than just blue light to avoid using it at least 30 minutes before bed. But we'll talk about that in another time. Nevertheless, when it comes to smartphones, there are more reasons than just blue light to avoid using it, especially at least 30 minutes before bed. To keep it practical, one thing I use that's really helpful is the Do Not Disturb feature on my phone, which activates 1 hour before bed and deactivates after I complete my morning routine. This turns off all notifications and messages and hides them from me so I don't get distracted. And you can customize it according to your liking. Since we're out of time, I'm going to stop here and we'll continue this series on sleep in the next episode. We'll start off by covering the other two things to help us manage our circadian rhythm, which are food and exercise. Next, we'll cover how to deal with the buildup of adenosine throughout the day and other methods to increase sleep efficiency. That's it for today's episode of Health is Happiness. Please don't hesitate to share in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.
And thank you so much, Julius, for another wonderful episode of Health is Happiness. And I think this is one of these big subjects, and I'm glad you're kind of explaining it more detailed. And we're going to go into a third episode about healthy sleep. And this is something, especially us in Providence, we go through these really crazy times where we sleep for like 3 hours or 4 hours. And, we think to ourselves that we are sensitive, but we're not. And we're going to need our 5 hours or 6 hours and a lot of things that need to change, or different tips and helps that are going to help us to live an even more healthy life. All right. So once again, everyone, leave your comments below for Julius. I know that he'll really be thankful and be able to answer your questions too. I'll try to get an email from him so that I'll put it into the description below so that people can email him for more personal things too. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys have an amazing and awesome day, and especially make sure to pray for your head leaders or whoever's preaching tonight. They are making their own script. All right, so everyone have a wonderful and awesome service, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm